Hello, everybody, and welcome to an all new episode of Wicked Unscripted, where we have unscripted conversations about some of the most popular reality shows on television. My name is Abigail Adams. I am your host for this podcast. Joining me today, as always, is the lovely Sarah Talks, and we're back to discuss the penultimate episode of Survivor 46. One of my favorite seasons that we have had in quite some time. I have been thoroughly enjoying this. But I know there are mixed opinions that there are some people who are not enjoying it nearly as much as I am. I know it's you.
I mean, I'm kind of in the in between. I really love this cast. I like that we're having these big, like, are you freaking serious? Like, oh my Dolly Parton, this cannot be happening. And
Fun of it all.
it does make it fun. But like I gotta tell you, like part of my one of my biggest anxiety triggers because of like my neurospiciness is repetitive noises, having to repeat what I say over and over and over again. Like just even like a faucet drip kind of thing, and like the movie Groundhog's Day. And I feel like this is the season of Groundhog's Day, because like we are having the same thing happen every single episode. And I just the more it happens, the more wild it gets. I'm still like sucked into every moment. So while I do really, really like this season, I just
That face. Oh my God.
my notes for this podcast, to record my notes for every episode, are just so repetitive, and it's like it's a little triggering.
Oh no, trust me, I get that same way. Because literally, first of all, before we even started, she's like, "You didn't really need to have to redo too many notes, did you?" Or something to that effect.
Yeah,
You were
no.
like, "You could keep them from last week."
Rinse and repeat.
Um,
4 weeks in a row now, 3 weeks.
I mean, and like, as much as I know that they're switching up certain things in the challenges, we really aren't. It's also coming back to the challenges where we are just going back to obstacle course that ends in some sort of puzzle, and it's just like, God, please do shake that portion up
I will
because
say, like, I still stand by the comps have been a little bit more diverse this season
eh,
than like say last season, where I feel like every single episode was the obstacle course and puzzle, where I'm not as annoyed whenever like this episode was obstacle course and puzzle. Or it could be just being overshadowed by the, leaving with an idol in your pocket repetitiveness, where like I don't even notice the competitions anymore.
I mean, for me, like, what my frustration really has become is that, like, I used to be so excited to see, like, what challenge they were gonna be facing and, like, who it could potentially benefit versus not, because it would always kinda change. Like, they had one that I absolutely love, and I just wish they would bring it back, and all they had to do was just hold their arm in the air,
Mm-hmm.
and you had your arm, and it's kind of nice that I have a scrunchie on, so if you're watching you can see. They would have something hooked onto their wrist, so if they moved their arm even slightly like too far down, a bucket would pour onto them and they were out. And like that challenge would last sometimes like 5 hours, and it was really fun because then you get people like making negotiations, and like it felt like some of the Big Brother challenges that you and I very much enjoy, where it's like those endurance ones that keep you on the edge of your seat. And like these endurance challenges we're getting now just don't, first of all, we don't get nearly as many of them. Um Second of all, they don't last nearly as long. They're like, Jeff was like bragging last week about like, wow, Gabler stayed a whole 38 minutes on this, and it's like, oh wow, so impressive. That's not necessarily, I would like, something I think that would be like really exciting to like promote. Like
Yeah.
something that would be really cool. Like if you're even talking to older fans, we know the days where challenges would run 12 hours. Like it's like, please don't. It just, I don't know. It feels like, I don't
Well,
know.
I also think like these competitions are getting, once again, like we've had the same episode 3 weeks in a row, down to like the challenges where it's just like this, the reward challenge. The question is like, is Liz gonna get to eat? Is Liz gonna get to eat? Like,
And why, I don't mean this in a negative way toward her at all, but like why that really shouldn't be something that we're just sitting here like looking forward to every week. Cause like that's not the things we really should be looking forward to him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just it doesn't feel like the best storytelling. It doesn't feel like things were necessarily planned out as best as they could. And I understand they're going to be like, well, we weren't planning for a 90-minute season. You didn't have to. I still stand in the camp that, like, it doesn't really matter how long. I mean, it does matter, but I feel like that extra 30 minutes really just goes to give them more time to tell a fuller story
Mhm.
rather than like, well, let's add an extra scene here. It's like, no, like, let's make sure if we're telling the story about who's getting voted out that we know exactly how that is going to formulate and like what it's coming down to, because we've had times in the past where we've even like they've cut out full advantages. Maybe that was because it was a 60-minute episode, but it's like we just want to make sure that like everything is getting fully told front to back.
Yeah.
And it just like, I don't know, maybe they
And it's
don't.
not because as we saw, like who went home this week, did they ever even discuss that in the episode? No. Like it was all a Charlie, Maria. There was just everybody's name but Q.
I
And
disagree. I think Q's name came up. It was just that it was they were hinting at like it's got to be Charlie or Maria because it did come up once Maria won immunity.
I don't know. I didn't get the vibe that it I'm still feeling like they're trying so badly for the tribal to be such a shocker that they're just throwing in a bunch
I agree with that
of
for sure.
smoke and mirror conversations, and I
Mhm.
feel like with these 90 minutes that we could be getting more. Like I don't need the oh my gosh, as Jeff pulls out the votes. It's nice occasionally, but when it's just getting to the point where it's not surprising anymore, and not because we didn't see it coming, just because I everything leading up to tribal just doesn't really even matter.
It feels very watered down sometimes,
Yes.
where it's just kind of like we want to be able to enjoy those moments. So like if we get that kind of a oh my god moment every week, it doesn't have the impact that it would
Yes.
if you had it a couple times a season. No one's not even saying don't do it every few episodes, but you want it to be like, let me compare it to what I wish they would bring back to Amazing Race are the non-elimination legs, because there would be times like if you and it would be very frequent, but like Phil would, instead of saying the last people to check in at the mat will be eliminated, he would say May. And obviously there were times he would say will because you had just had one, but a lot of times it would just leave you on the edge of your seat being like, "Ooh, but are they going to actually be eliminated? Are they going to keep like there was that edge of mystery that did come with it, which was really fun. And I really miss that because I feel like that's a part of the show that they're kind of missing right now, where it's kind of like, ooh, but you never know. Your favorite person could get saved. Your least favorite people could get saved. And you don't know until you get to the mat. And I feel like that was a big draw every single week, no matter what. And I just feel like that's kind of what like what's happening here is like now that that element's been pulled out, it's not necessarily as interesting. It feels like Survivor is watering that down to the point where it's like, okay, well, I want to be surprised when we have 4 people go out in a row with idols in their pockets. I want it to be more of a have an impact rather than just, I don't know, feeling like we're being toyed with the entire time, you know?
Yes. Yeah. I feel like we're being as repetitive as the episodes here.
Yeah, well, so, to be clear, going into this episode, that was the 4th idol flush of the season and the 3rd idol flush in a row. We now have had our 5th straight we've had our 5th idol flush of the season and our 4th idol flush in a row.
Mhm.
I
Setting
will say
records.
that is really interesting, and like I don't know if the word impressive is the word I'm looking for, but like it is like definitely a jaw dropper.
I don't know if you saw this, but Teg made a video, and I thought it was a really interesting way of looking at it, that we're setting these records, and that it speaks to like, why won't people play their idols, and play your fucking idol, and blah blah blah. But she said that another way to look at this is the social dynamics within the tribe, to where these people that have idols are made to feel so comfortable by the other people on the island that they don't feel
Mhm.
like they need to play them. And I think that that's a really interesting way of looking at it. We love Teg.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
But
and
yeah, it kind of changed my perspective on it. But I say in that it would be more interesting to see that storytelling. So instead of trying to throw me,
mm,
the viewer, off with not seeing whose name is going to be written down on the parchment, show me who they're looking at voting, but also show me the conversations that they're having with that person that's going to make them comfortable enough to not play their idol, you
'cause I
know?
think they're giving us some of that, and it's not that they're not giving us anything, but they're not I don't think they're giving us enough to really sew that story up, especially when you have 90 freaking minutes to play with, you know? Um, I don't I have so many thoughts about that. It's and now they're all just buzzing in my head. Um, I think I don't know, take it away because
I just think that I would be more interested in seeing everyone talk about they're going to put Q's name down on the paper, but then show me those people having conversations with Q that's going to make him feel comfortable to, because they didn't know he didn't have his idol. They didn't
Right,
know he had an idol. I mean, we are finding out that more and more people have come out, that like some of the idols were known, like Tiffs and stuff, like they were known,
right.
but it's also coming out in like these eviction, these interviews, um, that people did know, and some of these weren't so secret. Um, but show me more of that. Show
Right.
me who talked to Q, what conversations, how many conversations did he have where he got to the place where he was comfortable enough not to use it with Tiffany, with Hunter? Like, show me those parts. Even if it, and at this point in the game, it would still give us a surprise, because if I saw an episode of all that, say if I watch this episode again and everyone's talking about Q and they're having these conversations to make him feel comfortable, I still wouldn't go into Tribal thinking it was going to be Q, because all the fuckery you pulled in the first part of the season. So,
I think also it's interesting, kind of back to Teg's point. I really think it's interesting to think about like the different kinds of personalities too that have been lulled into it and like how they've been lulled into because it's all been different. It's not necessarily just been blanket where like they've all been in the same position, they've all felt the same way going into tribal council. Everything has been different and they all have different personalities. Um, you know, Hunter was ready to play it, like, right at the last second and just finally felt comfortable enough that he didn't play it. That shows a little bit but versus Venus, who felt very comfortable, and, Q, who were like and Tiffany, who were 3 people in a row were literally like, "Look, I'm comfortable enough to think that, uh, I can actually not only make it through this tribal councils, I can then use my idol next week to my benefit, or next tribal rather, to my benefit." But there's all different reasons as to why they felt convinced that way. And I think that's really an interesting dynamic to think about. Um, because I also think that on that note, it's really important to give the credit to the people who have been doing the flushing. Um, I mean, that's largely been Charlie. I mean, not even largely. It's been Charlie and Maria all season long. Uh, and I've been waiting for the moment when we've had the split, and I think the split has happened because Charlie was the person who was behind this 5th idol flush. Been behind every single one. Maria lost her number there. Um, I think if there's any major argument he can make going into this final, it is look at how many it wasn't just even being on the right side of the vote. I was able to flush these idols out of the game, and I was able to do it more successfully than she did. It's gonna be I think that's gonna be a big selling point. Probably not like the sole selling point at all, but like I think that will be if especially if they find themselves in the finale together, a big selling point between each other, and making a different case between because they have very, very, very similar paths to the final. They've both won 2 immunity challenges. They've both taken people on rewards. I don't think Maria won her separate. I think she just won immunity, but they've both been in that position where they've had to take people, and Charlie's strategy has definitely been way different than Maria's was. So, and that's interesting. We can also hop over to that if you want, because like that reward challenge, I think could have a really significant impact on how this game, like,
Oh, elaborate.
well, I think it really comes down to, and I'm just grabbing my notes real quick. It comes down to like Charlie taking Liz and Kenzie. Um it's not necessarily about leaving Maria behind either. It's about the fact that he wanted to form those bonds with them and build that trust, because they were then so quick when they were on the beach. Like they were kind of like, I mean, yeah, Charlie's a threat, but like we're not even really considering that right now. And it's just to be able to have that, be in that position, that should have been somebody that they absolutely were concerned about moving into this vote. And the fact that he was he was able to so quickly convince them that he should be the person that they trust and lean on in this vote, I think says leaps and bounds about the game that he's playing.
Oh, he played this beautifully. I think down to like the picks and going into it saying like those who didn't have pizza, you're going to have it no matter what. Like I made up my mind and it was just the only fair thing. I think that that really like smoothed things over, especially
Yep.
when Jeff threw in the letters of it all.
Yeah.
Um so like I feel like that could have been really really ugly very quickly, but the fact that he stuck to like this was my plan for picks, blah blah blah, that kind of helped. And you could see it in Maria that like she was upset about the letters but she wasn't upset with Charlie. I feel like her turning on him in this particular week and wanting to target him might have been a little subconscious pettiness. I don't I don't, if Maria had been chosen to go on this reward, this would not have been the week that she targeted Charlie.
I think she would have considered it because Q would have brought it. Well, here's the thing: Q brought it up. He was going to be bringing it up anyway. I
Yeah.
think she would have at least weighed it, but I think she still would have gone against it. I think she would have been like, "No, because when she wants something, she's very firm about what she wants." I just don't know if at that point Q would have had enough to convince her, because both her and Charlie were literally sitting there being like, I don't know if they really actually want to come for me. And it's like, oh my god. They're literally having the exact same thought process as they're going into it's. So that I will say that part was really incredible storytelling. The way they bounced back and forth
Yeah.
between those two, that was incredible. Oh my god, living for that moment. It has been really fun to watch them play together all season, but we all had to know this was coming at some point. Like, if they didn't turn on each other, it would be a massive mistake no matter what. And I'm not saying like turn on each other just boldly, but you know, at some point you have to weigh whether or not your ally is really the person to take you, or you should be taking to the final. And I love that they're bringing up Malcolm and Denise again. I really hope you can go watch their season sometime, because that season is fantastico. Um, and for those who either haven't seen or don't remember, uh, those two ended up going to the final four together, and Denise ended up turning on Malcolm because Malcolm, I can't remember what comment he made, but he made a comment about the vote upcoming that she was like, I can't trust you. I can't trust what you're doing. And it's the final four. And I love you, but like, I have to do what's right for me to get to the final three. And that was his demise. So I don't know I mean, we know that like kind of looking at Malcolm as Charlie and Denise, or we're looking at Charlie as Malcolm and Maria as Denise. But I mean, does that mean that Charlie's going to be the person that sees that downfall? I'm not necessarily sure, because I think in this context, Maria doesn't have the level head that Charlie does, and I think that Denise had more of the level head when we were
Mm.
going into the final four then. So, I don't know. Lots to think about. We don't even know if they're going to make the final four together. That's going to be a huge question in itself. um But this whole episode was very much centered around the new division between Charlie and Maria. I think it was interesting to see how adamant Maria was on keeping Q. I feel like her game has gotten a little, not stale is not the right word, rigid.
Okay.
She like I mean, I'm not saying she's not flexible, because obviously she was willing to flex to working with or getting out Charlie, but I just feel like her inability to understand that like taking Q out could really ultimately help her at some points, because people were at this point being like, Q's only a number for her. They're seeing through she's what her game plan has been this entire time. So I don't know. I think she leaned on Q a little too long, and now I don't know if she's really in the best position possible going into this final 5. But I do think that there is the potential
I think
for
she
her
in
to win out.
danger.
I think she can win the next immunity, and then it's just going to be that final 4 immunity is going to be everything.
Yeah,
Sorry, go for it.
no, yeah, I think she's in danger.
I think she's misread the social situation too. Like she absolutely thought that Liz and Kenzie were gonna be on her side. She was very convinced. Q was completely convinced, from what we saw at least. So it's just interesting to see her, because she has read the room so well this season, and all of a sudden that read has definitely changed. Um, Curious to see if she can turn it around in this
I
next
mean,
episode.
I'm just getting that like sense of the big head sense this episode from her. I'm feeling more like her confidence is getting like we're just reaching a dangerous level. And that's kind of where I'm at with her, where I feel like she's getting a little high on her own supply.
Oh, for sure. Um, I think she was lucky in a way that she didn't find that idol, though. Just 'cause
Because of the curse.
it's so bad.
I
The
tweeted
second
it
I
out.
saw
I'm like,
that,
guys, I predict whoever found the idol this episode is the one that was going home.
okay, did you happen to see the next time on Survivor, or was it on
You have
that
to
or in the
remind me.
preview? No, I think they dropped a preview, and it shows a shot of Charlie and Maria looking for something together at Tree Mail. And I need all of the context. I need all of
Okay.
the context. There's so many things, like little bits of the preview, like there's a shot of Ben and Charlie hugging very excitedly. Um
Hmm.
there's I mean there and then they didn't really show a ton else besides like a shot of Liz crying on the beach, but like Jeff said the following quotes, which just makes me be like, what the hell is going to happen, and like how does it make me change, how does it change how I view what's coming up. So he started the preview by saying, is this a joke? Then what is happening? Then another unpredictable moment in an absolutely unpredictable season. And that, my friend, makes
Hmm.
it really hard for me to figure out what we're even walking into moving forward. Um, because it seems so clear cut that you'd think that like Charlie and Maria would be next out, that it would seem very, I mean, it's just whenever you have a clear cut storyline and then they throw something like this at you, it makes me second guess everything that I would like to predict. Because my big thing was I was gonna ask you at the end of the episode to be like, "Yeah, well, let's start ranking, like, where we think these people are gonna fall moving forward," but, like, how do you do that when you know that we're gonna have such a potential big shakeup? So if you're not watching rather, the, video version of the podcast, we just popped up our our winners
Draft
draft
picks.
picks,
Yeah.
and then uh, Q has been added to our jury little panel. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's funny that we have half of these are early picks, and then the other half, your other two of these are your lower picks, Ben and uh, Liz.
Yeah. I was about to say Charlie was up there.
Oh, yes, I know. I know he was. Maria was up there for me too. I can't remember. She was either like 2 or 3, and then Kenzie was like 4, something like that. I have to go back to that to jog my memory. But I also think so when they did next week on
Hmm.
Survivor, each of them got their own little quote, and I just feel like they could potentially be telling. I mean, Ben's was just like, "I got a vibe. It's such a vibe. It's electric." I feel like that's just a very generic filler quote. Liz was like, "Holy hot dog on a stick, this is crazy," or something like that. I meant to finish that. Jesus Christ. Um, Kenzie's like, "I'm like a secret little cute assassin." That could be an interesting, depending on when that airs in the episode, that could be interesting. I'm wondering if that's insinuating that she could be pulling off a move at the final 5. It would be fun, and she needs a really big resume move, in my opinion.
She absolutely does. Yeah.
And I think this is the time still to do it. I think there's plenty of time left. Like, people think that it's too late at this point. It's like, absolutely not.
No. But when you make a move, you don't need to tell the whole tribe you made a move.
No, no, you don't.
You'll have time for that finale. But hey
But
guys, I did a thing. Do you see it? Do you see that? I did a thing. That's gonna look real, real good finale night. That was my thing that I did. Don't do that.
Liz
Don't.
and Maria have both done that this season, and it's like,
Jesus.
stop it. Stop it. It's not healthy. It's not good for your game. It just does it rubs people the wrong way. I did save Maria and Charlie's for last in particular because I think they're going to be very telling to how their storylines play out. Maria says it's do or die. This is the time to just go for it. And I think Charlie's is the most interesting personally because he is the only one that mentions winning the game. Because his says, "I'm so close. I want to win this freaking game." I probably need to go back to like some older episodes to see like if that's a pattern. I'd be curious to see. There's also a portion of it that shows him exiting the one of the obstacle course whatever, like legs,
Mhm.
shows him exiting first, and then like right after Jeff is being like, "This is do or die, you can do it," and like cheering whoever somebody's doing something, cheering that person on. So there's a lot of clues definitely being dropped in both the end of episode preview and the preview that they dropped for this upcoming week. With all of that in mind, what are your thoughts on how, like, who do you think could be 5th, 4th, 3rd? Who do you think could win? How could you rank?
I don't know because my gut has been right only about dynamics,
Mhm.
idols, competitions, and things like that have thrown a wrench into like my predictions.
Well, and especially with Jeff literally saying, "Is this a joke? What is happening? Another unpredictable moment." Like, for fuck's sake, what are we getting now?
I don't know why, but my gut feels like Maria's in trouble this week. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is, but I see and it might be some of the foreshadowing that's played out throughout the season. It might be the very vague and all over the place storytelling that the editors have given us, but I could see Maria being taken out at by Charlie's hands this next week. Um I don't know. I don't know.
It's so hard. It's
Because I feel like I can see it play out 2 ways. I feel like I can see Maria being taken out by Kenzie, but feeling betrayed by Charlie, which is gonna hurt him with his voting at the end. I can see that playing out. I see a path that way. I see a path where, um, Liz goes next.
because I think the big question, maybe like let's build it as slowly as we possibly could. So we both think that there's a chance that Maria, if she doesn't win immunity at Final Five, is
Mhm.
out. If she does, where do you think the target swings? That's got to be like I think the big question to weigh here.
If Maria wins immunity, oh boy.
Because I think Ben is very loyal too.
Yeah, but I think Ben would be in trouble here because I think that
Yes,
Kenzie and Liz would gravitate to Charlie and
I
want,
agree.
yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, that could be Charlie's downfall. Because like Kenzie has a real sway with Ben for how she has been. Like, I feel like there's a reason we have been getting the clips of him having panic attacks on the island and her constantly being there to help him. Like, I feel like there is a reason we're getting it, and it's not just filler. Um,
I do see Kenzie cutting Ben though.
I do. I don't disagree, but I think if she's willing to go with Charlie, she wants to have that extra number.
Yeah.
So, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think Charlie's in a good spot though. I don't think Maria has the numbers if she did want to target Charlie. I don't think that she necessarily has the numbers to do that. I think that anybody that she tried to I think she put too much time into Q because I
Yeah,
think that even if she campaigned or she went to Kenzie or Liz or Ben to go after Charlie, it would just backfire on her. And
absolutely.
I'm speaking slowly because I'm looking at their faces and thinking through the dynamics that I know of so far. And I'm just not seeing a way that Maria gets to Kenzie or Liz to turn them on Charlie. So
She has to win.
she has to win immunity.
Yes. I think she needs to win out on immunity too in
Yeah.
order to not see herself like, even if she wins next week or not next week, if she wins at the final 5, and then finds herself at final 4, like, she would be really quick, you know, though, they did make a comment in this episode about Maria being very quick to make fire.
Yes, they did.
So, damn.
No, I don't think anybody picks her to be in the final.
I agree. Just I feel like that dynamic won't go away though,
Yeah.
because I feel like then it's gonna come down to it's maybe not about Maria, like, is she gonna be in? It's who is the person who won immunity going to pick to put in there with her, which could, like, I mean, think about it. Even if we're looking at just all the final 5, that would be a tough sell for just about anybody.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited to see it though. So
This is gonna be a messy, messy finale. I'm excited. I wish we had more to talk about with this episode, though. Like, this episode was very, like,
rinse and repeat.
it wasn't even a bland episode. It was really entertaining. Like, the problem was there were like we and a lot of shows do this where as the season goes along and the storylines kind of whittle down because you're getting to the finale, you run out of things to talk about. There are way
Big
fewer
Brother has it too.
storylines. But like this episode, while I thoroughly enjoyed it once again, did not give us a ton to analyze outside of just where are we going with Charlie and Maria.
Yeah.
It was very much the Charlie and Maria show. Um, like, I'm going like, literally half of my note more than half of my notes are Maria, Maria, Charlie, Maria, Maria, Charlie, Maria, Maria, Charlie, 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 Charlie. Like,
It is very,
Um,
very, very much. I cannot stop yawning, and I'm convinced it's because I'm in this room alone, and so, like, the yawns are all trapped in here with me, but
well, that's what happens. No, I'm
yeah,
just
there's no
kidding.
one to pass it to. Um, yeah, it's very much the Charlie Maria show right now anyway, but yeah, like, we see this on Big Brother too, like, there's always that lull, and I'm not talking about, like, the dead week. I'm
No,
just talking about, like,
no.
a lull in the feeds and, like, things start to dwindle down. It's typically right before finale too, so
Yeah. I do think, though, this episode did give us enough to kind of it's in a fun way hard to predict the finale because I mean, while for our quote unquote job here, we would like to be able to just be able to be like, it's so obviously this and then this and then this and come back and I'll tell you I was right. I actually kind of am excited for the fact that we really have no clue how this is going to play out. Um, I just hope they don't red herring their way through the entire finale because that's never fun. Like just like, and we were just talking about that. They've been using red herrings. I was gonna say red herring.
as a verb, I like it. I'm here for it.
Right? Making a new verb. Um,
Love it.
but like I'd like they've been a little excessive in their use with those throughout the season. So I would like a little bit more, perhaps a straightforward finale with some twists. No one's saying no twists. Just we do need to be able to see where the story's going, and I think that's also really important, and I could not say this enough when it comes to what we are seeing in the jury, because right now I'm having a hard time reading where the jury will even go. And it's like I would like to ow, sorry, just hit myself. I would like to know where their heads are even slightly at. I mean, we don't tend to get any commentary with them, and that's normal. It's more like I feel like I didn't get enough in their storylines to educate us on who they are looking at right now. Um, or to even make an educated guess on this final five, because there's just, I mean, I feel like so much of it is just up in the air. But to be fair, I didn't look at seasons with an analytical eye like this when I was younger, so it could all just be my brain not quite
We were just
understanding.
talking about that. I'm kinda in the same boat where, like, with news stuff where, like, my brain didn't process news the same way as it does as I'm an adult. So now I'm watching all these documentaries for, like, the Boston Marathon bombing and 9/11 and all these things that I was alive for, but, like, my brain just needs, so maybe you just need a rewatch.
And I think that's really, well, first of all, yeah, I think so. And I think that's the big important part of doing rewatches is going back with a different lens and
Mhm.
really understand, because I mean, first of all, just as a kid, I didn't understand like any people's like I would tend to glom onto people who eventually would get like arrested or have problematic stuff, but they didn't show that. It was just like they were just a fun, quirky character. And then you'd go online and find out that they were not such a fun, quirky character. And it's like, oh, damn it. Stop selling me that. I didn't like that. It's driven me nuts. And still throughout the years, like, I'll be like, oh, I like that person. And people will be like, you didn't hear this about them? And I'm like, no, don't ruin it for me.
Mhm.
I didn't know that. Um, but it is really important to look back and have like the most like and just be as thoughtful as possible whenever watching these. And perspectives change no matter what. It's like your taste buds, they change all the time. So you wanna I do think it'll be good to go back eventually and rewatch. Especially I was just mentioning the Malcolm and Denise season. I mean, it'd be probably really good if I can binge watch it before the finale and just kind of get a sense of what storyline they're trying to tell us. Because I mean, they've been handing us that storyline on a silver platter all season. So it just, I don't know. They're either hinting that it's going the exact same way or they're hinting that it's going to just be total chaos. And I don't really know which way to
Yeah.
swing. Um, 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 oh, and one of my other notes, you are not from the era of us getting to see people walk into tribal council, getting to see the jury walk in after. So it used to be the players would walk in, put their torches down, and then Jeff would be like, all right, bring in the jury. And then
I've
he'd be
seen
like,
those seasons. I've seen some seasons like that.
oh, okay. I didn't know
Yeah.
you would seen any of those seasons. Um, I really miss that. Like that dynamic, I feel like was always like because they got a chance to kind of go scope out who was left and kind of have some thoughts. You could see their reactions on their faces. And I get that we get like the group reaction now.
You get some
But like,
faces from Miss Venus, though. She
oh
was serving.
my God, I live for it. Oh my God. Her
I could hear those eye rolls.
they were so loud. She is so much fun to watch, and I cannot wait to hear what she says in this finale. Like,
Mhm.
it's gonna be I mean, I don't think she is gonna hold back on anybody. Um, she hasn't held back in tribal council anyway, so, I mean, I think it's gonna be really fascinating to see not only what she says, but if what she says has any sway on people, because people have been really, from what we can tell, potentially not kind. Like that's what she's saying. They have other stories. I mean, literally I mean not Venus, Soda put out a statement last week that did not technically name Venus, but from those of us who are familiar with what has been going on in the sphere, it seems as though it was directed at some of Venus's frustrations that she has been airing out on social media.
Mm.
Um so I mean, that's gonna also be interesting to see in the reunion. Like, what are we I don't know.
Can you elaborate? Like, what did she say?
Oh, let me pull it up. I didn't want to go into it if you didn't want to, but we can. Okay, so it's a little long, but I can read through it. So it says, I felt compelled to address certain misconceptions about my interactions with a fellow castaway, especially during our time at Ponderosa and beyond. Ensuring a fair and balanced representation of my experiences and events is crucial to me, especially when I've been funneled into a limited edit that does not display multiple perspectives. During my time at Ponderosa, sorry, I have to open my screen a little bit. My top priority was creating a welcoming and supportive environment for all eliminated castaways, regardless of any prior dynamics within the game. Each person received a warm reception, including a welcome song written and sung by me, help with their food, and what to expect for the next few days. I also made it a point to sit and listen to each person unravel their experience in the game without talking, just listening. Regarding recent claims of exclusion and mistreatment, I want to clarify that these claims are untrue and hurtful. Multiple castaways can attest to this fact. Despite my sincere efforts to engage positively, it became evident that the castaway in question struggled with their communication style and emotional regulation, which inevitably influenced our future interactions. This holds true for our interactions between us during the game at Ponderosa and in post game in real life. All of our interactions were initiated by myself from an open and engaging perspective. I personally feel that regardless of this, I often was held responsible and given blame for personal misfortunes and issues they experienced within the different settings of the game. It is disheartening to see my character misrepresented through these accusations. I firmly believe being held accountable and self-reflective, and I've always been willing to address concerns directly. Again, I've done so with this particular castaway during the game at Ponderosa and in real life despite their accusations and harsh communication. At a certain point, it became important to me to set emotional and personal boundaries for my own well being and peace. You can care for someone and wish them well without allowing access to continually malign and attack you. There's still a bit more. I want to recognize the subjective nature of each person's experience within the game. While I acknowledge diverse perspectives, I encourage the online survivor community to consider the full spectrum of perspectives shared by all castaways rather than solely focusing on one narrative. I've faced unwarranted attacks and hate due to misrepresentations of events. It is ironic to me to be labeled a bully and face such attacks online and still have remained positive and kind, however, reaches a limit.
Mm.
Standing up for myself is extremely important to me, especially in light of my trauma history, and I see this as an opportunity to share my perspective and advocate for myself regardless of public response. There are multiple ways to be a strong, outspoken woman And anyone who is an advocate for all women will know and respect that. Of course, everyone is allowed to have feelings and speak on them, and I am no different. I'm allowed to be angry and hurt about this misrepresentation of my character and share those feelings. I especially feel this is important as a Black woman who does not fit into traditional beauty molds and is used to being judged and misrepresented because of those identities. I deeply appreciate the support of those who have witnessed our genuine dynamics in our interactions. We are real people navigating this journey in real time. None of us are perfect. Thank you for listening and being part of this incredible
I
journey.
mean, she like gave a statement.
Yeah, like it's full statement.
Here's the thing. We don't know. We
We
don't know.
don't.
Because we loved Venus in the game, right? But there is a possibility that she isn't just difficult in the game, that she's just a difficult personality. You know? There she could been projecting, or she might have come in cold, and Soda could be 1,000% correct here. Venus
I
could
just
be playing all of us for sympathy, or for the story, or for the attention, because she didn't make it to the end. We don't know these people. We don't know if Soda is, if maybe Venus wasn't referring to Soda directly, was talking about somebody else, and Soda is taking it personally, and like, well, I did all of these things and I gave him a song, we don't know. We don't know these details.
would be nice if we had Ponderosa back. That's really the big thing. Is we used to get clips of Ponderosa. We used to be able to see
But even if we
portions
did
of
that,
this,
we can't trust production to show us all of the true
which is
story
very true.
here.
Which is why Sarah and I have been advocating, not really advocating, but have said in the past that it would just be nice if you, like, I don't know, if we paid like a little extra fee to get little live feeds of Ponderosa. That would be fun. We would like that. That
Mhm.
would help us inform
I don't know how
decisions.
they would do that with it, how far
They
ahead they
they
would
also wouldn't
record,
probably
and
do it
yeah.
to if they have certain narratives that they wanna continue, they aren't gonna do that.
It would
So,
be really,
I
really, really cool if, quote unquote, live feeds, right? Quote
yeah.
unquote. But I was saying, like, put live feeds in Ponderosa, but don't play them in real time. Play them, like, hit the play button when the season starts. And so that the
Oh, like the
timing
digital
of the feed,
dailies. They do that for, the digital dailies up at Big Brother Canada.
yeah. So, like, we're not watching what's actually happening live in the moment, but we're
Right.
watching what, like, a live feed that
Would look like.
was recorded, synced up with where we're at in the game. That would be really cool. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I would like it. Do I think that they would bite on something like
no,
that? No. No.
no, not at all.
No, no. I mean, I think
I'm
they're
just saying,
already
like, whether you're
wary
a
of the
Venus
other live
fan
feeds.
or Soda fan or neither fan, just remember that there are three sides to every story. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of why, like, I wanna make sure that we talk about the stuff on here, but, like, we're not here to ultimately make hardcore
mhm,
decisions, unless we were able to, like, witness it ourselves and be able to form our own opinions based on what we witnessed, but we can't if we
yeah,
don't get the kind of information that we get from Big Brother live feeds,
yeah.
we're not here to make that kind of a decision. Couple more interesting notes to discuss before we hop off for the day. Q has said in his exit interviews, I think this is probably the biggest thing for me, is that he would like to come back for Survivor 50.
I'm
There
sure
are
he
going
would.
to be people who disagree, and I'm sure it could potentially be you. I am on board.
Ugh.
I am on board. Give me the chaos. I want the chaos. I live for the chaos. It would be fun, like, if they did another heroes versus villains, oh my god, he'd be a great villain. Just be good for all stars.
I will never forget him telling people to vote him out. So,
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree, but I don't think Jeff is necessarily gonna consider that a quit, and he's gonna want Q back.
yeah.
I think Jeff has and I think producers probably have an interest in bringing him back because of he is just a like, for them, it's not necessarily who is just well liked, it's who is going to be talked about. Who are people going to discuss? Um,
Brandon.
That would be fun. I would love it. Another second chances season, you could still have him on there. But like another second chances season would be great. We could go back into what we'd like to see for it, but so you're a disagree.
Yes, vehemently.
I'm not judging. Um it's not because I thought he was my favorite player. I just again live for the
Once
chaos.
you verbally quit the game, whether it's fake, strategic, or just emotional, I'm out. I'm out. And you can call me heartless, you can call me cold, you could call me what, like, I'm out.
I don't disagree. I think that's a very valid point. Maybe I'm just leaning more on what I think Jeff would be more willing to do, and I would be very surprised if he was not begging for Q to come back. Like, it just seems like a very Jeff thing to want. Um,
Yeah.
so, well, but you could be very much more. My opinion tends to align more with that on a personal level, but if I think realistically, I still would like to see him, but I do agree that it really put a sour taste in my mouth whenever I remember that he quit, because I do forget about that a lot.
Mhm.
Shit drives me nuts. And then the other big news is that Australia versus America is apparently on the way. It's not going to be produced by American Survivor. It's going to be the Australian producers. They're the ones that are getting everything together from what the reports seem. So, more updates on that as that comes, but that should probably not be airing. It's not going to film until September and then won't be airing until like 2025. So, quite some time, but it'll be interesting to see who they can get on there. I'm gonna almost guarantee Sandra will be on there because she already played Australia once, and they're probably gonna want a familiar US face
Yeah.
to get people to be like interested in watching a season where they don't know half of the cast. Boston Rob, I think I mentioned this last week. If I didn't, I mentioned it in a TikTok video. Boston Rob was asked after um oh no, I mentioned it in the TikTok. He was asked after the Deal or No Deal Island finale if he would have any interest, and he said it would be unlikely that he would be on the
Mm.
show. Doesn't necessarily seem to rule it out, but I don't think we can count on him. People I would like to see, I'll always scream for Tyson. Kelly Wentworth knows the show very well. I would love, 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 love to see her on that version. That would be amazing. There are a bunch of people I'd like to see. But I'll be curious to see who they have their eyes on.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
Anything else before we wrap up for the day?
No.
Well, alrighty. Well,
I mean, I'm hoping we have hoping we have something different to say next week.
Well, we should, considering there's a finale, but you never know. That'll be a lot of fun, though. And I'm so excited for it. But that does wrap up this episode of Wicked Unscripted. So if you like what you hear, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and download the podcast. We're also regularly posting updates on our TikTok accounts. We're finally back into the Wicked Unscripted account. So more coming from there. You can also follow us at It's Abigail Adams and Sarah Talk Big Brother. If you want to ask us a question, share your thoughts, or leave us a tip, email the podcast at wickedunscriptedpod, P-O-D at gmail.com for more. That is wickedunscriptedpod, P-O-D at gmail.com. We're always looking for fresh and diverse voices to join the conversation. And with that, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.